The millionaire lost his translator at a global event, and only the Maid saved his reputation. Welcome back to our incredible story channel. Before we dive into today's absolutely mind-blowing tale, make sure to smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. Trust me, you don't want to miss any of our amazing stories. And hey, we love our global family, so drop a comment below telling us where in the world you're watching from. Are you joining us from London, maybe Mexico City? Perhaps Tokyo or Mumbai? We want to hear from every corner of the globe. Today's story will leave you speechless. It's about Elena Morales, a hotel housekeeper from Miami, whose extraordinary linguistic abilities became the lifeline for tech billionaire Marcus Chen during the most important business summit of his career. When his professional translator mysteriously disappeared hours before a crucial presentation, Elena stepped in to save not just a deal, but an entire company's future. So grab your favorite snack, get comfortable, and don't forget to tell us in the comments where you're listening from. This 35-minute journey will show you that heroes come in the most unexpected forms, and sometimes the person cleaning your room might just be the one to save your empire. Let's begin this incredible story together. Chapter 1. The Perfect Storm. The Fontainebleau Miami Beach Hotel gleamed like a crystal palace against the azure Atlantic, its towering presence commanding respect from every angle. Inside the opulent Grand Ballroom, preparations were underway for the Global Technology Investment Summit, an exclusive 3-day event that would bring together the world's most powerful tech moguls, international investors, and government officials from 47 nations. Elena Morales pushed her housekeeping cart down the marble-floored corridor of the 42nd floor, the executive level where the summit's most important guests were staying. At 34, Elena had worked at the Fontainebleau for 6 years, and she took pride in her work. Every room had to be perfect, fresh linens with hospital corners, bathrooms spotless enough to perform surgery, and every surface gleaming under the crystal chandeliers. What most people didn't know about Elena was that she was a walking United Nations. Born in Colombia to a Colombian mother and Lebanese father, raised in Miami's diverse neighborhoods, and educated through night school while working multiple jobs, Elena spoke 6 languages fluently: Spanish, English, Arabic, Portuguese, French, and Italian. Her ear for languages was almost supernatural. She could pick up accents, understand regional dialects, and even interpret the emotional undertones that got lost in translation. As she cleaned the presidential suite, Elena couldn't help but notice the organized chaos spread across the massive dining table. Contracts in multiple languages, presentation materials, and technical documents covered every inch of the polished surface. At the center of it all sat Marcus Chen, the 41-year-old founder and CEO of Neuralbridge Technologies, a company that had revolutionized brain-computer interface technology. Marcus was a first-generation Chinese-American whose parents had immigrated to California with nothing but determination and a dream. He had built Neuralbridge from a Stanford dorm room idea into a $15 billion empire that promised to change how humans interacted with technology forever. But despite his incredible success, Marcus had always struggled with one crucial aspect of international business: language barriers. "Dr. Reeves, I need you to confirm the Portuguese contracts one more time," Marcus was saying into his phone, his voice tight with stress. "The Brazilian delegation specifically requested amendments to Section 12, and I want to make sure we're not missing any cultural nuances." Elena paused in her dusting, recognizing the name Dr. James Reeves, Marcus's personal translator and cultural liaison. She had seen the distinguished British gentleman several times over the past week, always impeccably dressed and carrying a leather briefcase filled with translation devices and reference materials. "What do you mean, you're sick?" Marcus's voice rose in panic. "James, this is the most important presentation of my career. The European Union is deciding whether to approve Neuralbridge technology for medical applications across 27 countries. The Japanese consortium is considering a joint venture worth $8 billion. I can't do this without you." Elena continued cleaning but couldn't help overhearing the conversation. She had learned over the years that executives often forgot housekeeping staff were even in the room, treating them like invisible furniture. Food poisoning? How severe? Marcus was pacing now, his perfectly styled black hair becoming disheveled as he ran his hands through it. "The emergency room. James, the presentations start in 8 hours. 8 hours. I have delegates from Brazil, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and 12 other countries expecting me to communicate in their languages." As the phone call ended, Elena watched Marcus slump into his chair, the weight of his impossible situation crushing down on him. She had seen many powerful people in their vulnerable moments during her years of hotel work, But something about Marcus's desperation touched her heart. The summit wasn't just about business deals for Marcus. Elena had overheard enough conversations to understand that Neural Bridge's technology could help paralyzed patients control computers with their thoughts, allow stroke victims to communicate again, and restore independence to millions of people with disabilities. This wasn't just about profit. It was about changing lives. "Think, Marcus, think," he muttered to himself, scrolling through his phone contacts frantically. "There has to be someone who can help." Elena knew she should mind her own business. She was just the housekeeper. But she also knew that in 8 hours, Marcus would face the most important audience of his life. And without proper translation, cultural understanding, and diplomatic finesse, everything he had worked for could crumble. She had witnessed similar situations before. Brilliant people with world-changing ideas failing, not because their concepts were flawed, but because they couldn't communicate effectively across cultural and linguistic barriers. Language wasn't just about words, it was about understanding context, reading between the lines, respecting cultural sensitivities, and building emotional connections. As Elena finished cleaning the living area, she noticed Marcus on another phone call, this time with what sounded like a translation agency. "What do you mean you don't have anyone available? This is Marcus Chen from Neural Bridge Technologies. Yes, I'll pay premium rates. Triple rates if necessary. You understand this is a multi-billion-dollar international summit." The conversation continued for several minutes, each no from the agency making Marcus's expression more desperate. Professional translators with the specific technical knowledge and security clearances required for such a high-level summit weren't exactly available on short notice. "Elena," came a voice from behind her. She turned to see Maria Santos, the head of housekeeping, approaching with her usual warm smile. "How are the executive suites coming along?" "Almost finished, Mrs. Santos," Elena replied in Spanish, grateful for the brief distraction from the drama unfolding in the presidential suite. "Good. The hotel manager wants everything perfect for tomorrow's summit. Apparently, the gentleman in the presidential suite is some kind of technology genius worth billions of dollars." Elena glanced back at Marcus, who was now staring at his laptop screen with the look of a man watching his empire crumble. "He seems to be having some problems with his translator for tomorrow's presentations." Maria followed Elena's gaze and lowered her voice. "Problems like that can destroy careers in the international business world. Language barriers have toppled bigger empires than his." As Maria continued her rounds, Elena found herself thinking about her own journey. She had spent years perfecting her language skills, not out of academic interest, but out of necessity. Growing up in Miami's international community, speaking multiple languages hadn't been a luxury. It had been survival. She had translated for neighbors during medical emergencies, helped immigrant families navigate school systems, and even assisted local businesses with international clients. But this was different. This was a billionaires summit, with world leaders and international delegations. This was technology that could change millions of lives. This was way beyond anything Elena had ever been asked to do. Yet as she watched Marcus make another desperate phone call, only to hang up in defeat, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that maybe, just maybe, she was exactly where she needed to be. The universe, her grandmother had always said, had a way of putting the right people in the right place at the right time. Elena had always thought that was just comforting folklore. Tonight, she was about to find out if her grandmother had been right all along. As she prepared to leave the presidential suite, Elena made a decision that would change both her life and Marcus's forever. She cleared her throat softly. "Excuse me, Mr. Chen." Marcus looked up from his laptop, surprised to remember there was someone else in the room. "Yes." Elena took a deep breath, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. "I couldn't help but overhear that you're having trouble finding a translator for tomorrow's summit." Marcus blinked, clearly confused about why the housekeeper was commenting on his business crisis. "Yes, that's correct. My translator is in the emergency room with severe food poisoning." "I know this might sound presumptuous," Elena continued, her voice growing stronger, "but I speak 6 languages fluently, and I've done translation work before. If you need help tomorrow, I might be able to assist you." Marcus stared at her for a long moment, his expression shifting from confusion to skepticism to something that might have been desperate hope. "You speak 6 languages?" he asked slowly. "Spanish, English, Arabic, Portuguese, French, and Italian," Elena confirmed. "I also understand some Mandarin and Japanese, though I'm not fluent in those." For the first time all evening, Marcus felt a flicker of possibility in the darkness of his situation. But could a hotel housekeeper really save a multi-billion-dollar international summit? In less than 8 hours, he would find out. Chapter 2. The Leap of Faith. The presidential suite fell silent, except for the distant sound of Miami's nighttime traffic far below. Marcus Chen stared at Eleanor, his mind racing as he tried to process what she had just offered. A housekeeper, volunteering to translate at the most important business summit of his career. "I'm sorry," Marcus said carefully. "Did you say you've done translation work before?" Elena nodded, feeling heat rise in her cheeks but maintaining eye contact. "Yes, sir. I've translated for local businesses, medical appointments, legal consultations, school meetings. I've been doing it since I was 16, but this isn't a parent-teacher conference," Marcus said, not unkindly but with clear skepticism. "This is an international technology summit. We're discussing neural interface protocols, quantum computing integration, biomedical regulations across different countries. The technical vocabulary alone—" "I understand your concerns, Mr. Chen," Elena interrupted gently. But language isn't just about vocabulary. It's about understanding people, their cultures, their communication styles. I've lived in Miami my entire life, which means I've been navigating international business conversations since I could walk." Marcus rubbed his temples, feeling the weight of his impossible situation. "Elena, I appreciate your offer, I really do, but if I mess this up, it's not just my company that suffers. There are thousands of paralyzed patients waiting for this technology to be approved for medical use. There are investors from 12 countries who have flown here specifically for this summit." "What languages do you need?" Elena asked simply. Marcus looked at his presentation schedule. "Tomorrow morning, I present to the European Union Medical Board in French and Italian. The afternoon session with the Brazilian Investment Consortium requires Portuguese. The evening gala includes presentations to German automotive executives, Japanese technology ministers, and Spanish pharmaceutical representatives." Elena felt her confidence growing. "Mr. Chen, I grew up in a Lebanese-Colombian household in Little Havana. My neighbors included Brazilian engineers, Italian restaurant owners, French art dealers, and German tech entrepreneurs. I've been translating technical conversations my entire adult life. But have you ever worked with brain-computer interface technology?" Marcus challenged. Eleanor paused, then smiled. "No, sir, but I spent 3 years translating for Dr. Rodriguez at Miami General Hospital's neurology department. I know the difference between a synapse and a neuron, between cerebral cortex functions and brain stem operations. I may not know your specific technology, but I understand how the brain works." Marcus felt his skepticism beginning to crack. "You worked at Miami General, part-time, while finishing my bachelor's degree," Elena explained. "Dr. Rodriguez specialized in stroke rehabilitation and traumatic brain injuries. I translated for Spanish-speaking patients and their families, explaining complex medical procedures, treatment options, prognoses." For the first time since Dr. Reeves's phone call, Marcus felt a genuine spark of hope. "What degree did you earn?" "International business with a minor in linguistics," Elena said quietly. "I graduated summa cum laude from Florida International University." Marcus blinked in surprise. "You have a degree in international business?" "Yes, sir. I took this job at the hotel because it offered health insurance for my mother, who has diabetes. The pay is steady, and it allowed me to help support my family while I figured out my next career move." The room fell silent again as Marcus reassessed the woman standing before him. Not just a housekeeper, but an educated professional who had chosen family responsibility over personal ambition, someone who understood both technical concepts and cultural nuances. "Elena," Marcus said slowly, "even if your language skills are perfect, there's another problem. This summit has strict security protocols. Every attendee, especially anyone with access to presentation materials, has to have level 5 clearance, background checks, security screening, the works." Elena reached into her uniform pocket and pulled out her hotel ID badge. "Mr. Chen, I've had level 5 security clearance for 3 years. The Fontainebleau hosts international political summits, Fortune 500 board meetings, and government conferences. All housekeeping staff in the executive levels are thoroughly vetted." Marcus examined her badge, noting the security clearance indicators he hadn't paid attention to before. "This is legitimate." "Yes, sir. I've cleaned rooms for heads of state, tech CEOs, international ambassadors. The hotel wouldn't trust me with those assignments if I weren't completely cleared." Marcus began pacing, his mind working through the possibilities and obstacles. "Okay, let's say hypothetically that this could work. There's still the matter of credibility. When I introduce you to a room full of international investors and government officials, they need to have confidence in your abilities." "What if we did a test?" Elena suggested. "You have presentation materials in multiple languages, right? Give me something complex to translate, and if I can't handle it, you'll know immediately." Marcus considered this, then walked to his dining table covered in documents. He selected a technical contract written in Portuguese, one of the Brazilian amendments that had been giving Dr. Reeves trouble. "This is a biomedical technology licensing agreement," Marcus said, handing Elena the document. "It includes specific terminology about neural interface protocols, FDA equivalent regulations in Brazil, and cultural considerations about medical device approval processes." Elena took the document and spent several minutes reading it carefully. When she looked up, her expression was confident. "This contract discusses the licensing of neural interface technology for medical applications in Brazil," she began. "Specifically, it addresses Anvisa regulations, Brazil's equivalent to the FDA, regarding implantable medical devices that interface directly with neural tissue." Marcus felt his eyebrows rise. Anvisa was indeed Brazil's regulatory agency, and Elena had pronounced it correctly with the proper Portuguese accent. "The main concern in Section 12, Elena continued, isn't about technical specifications. It's about cultural sensitivity regarding consent procedures. Brazilian medical ethics require extensive family consultation for any procedure involving brain intervention, even with adult patients. The contract language needs to acknowledge that consent isn't just individual, it's familial." Marcus stared at her. That's exactly the issue Dr. Reeves identified." "How did you know that?" "Because I understand Brazilian culture," Elena said simply. "Thus, family involvement in medical decisions isn't just legal protocol there. It's deeply embedded in their cultural values. Any technology company that ignores that cultural reality will fail in the Brazilian market, regardless of how good their technology is." Marcus felt excitement building in his chest. "What about the technical terminology? Do you understand what neural interface protocols actually mean?" Elena nodded. "Neural interface protocols are the communication standards between brain implants and external computer systems. They define how electrical signals from neurons are interpreted, processed, and translated into digital commands. Your technology allows paralyzed patients to control computers, wheelchairs, or prosthetic limbs just by thinking about the actions they want to perform." "That's a perfect explanation," Marcus said, his voice filled with amazement. "Elena, where did you learn about brain-computer interfaces?" "From Dr. Rodriguez's patients," Elena replied. "I spent 3 years watching stroke victims relearn how to communicate, seeing traumatic brain injury patients work to regain motor function. When you translate for families facing those challenges, you learn about neuroplasticity, synaptic connections, and rehabilitation technology. Your company's work represents hope for every family I've translated for." Marcus sat down heavily, overwhelmed by the realization that the solution to his crisis might have been cleaning his room the entire time. "Elena," he said quietly, "if I asked you to help me tomorrow, would you be willing to risk everything? Your job, your reputation, your future? Because if this goes wrong, if we fail in front of the world's most powerful technology investors, the consequences won't just affect me." Elena thought of her mother's medical bills, of the stable job that kept her family secure, of the safety of staying invisible in a world that often overlooked people like her. Then she thought of Dr. Rodriguez's patients, of the hope in their families' eyes, of the possibility that Marcus's technology could transform millions of lives. "Mr. Chen," she said with quiet determination, "some opportunities only come once in a lifetime. Some chances to make a real difference are worth any risk." Marcus looked at Elena with new respect, seeing not just a housekeeper who spoke multiple languages, but a professional who understood both the technical complexity and human impact of his life's work. "In that case," Marcus said, standing and extending his hand, "Elena Morales, would you be willing to serve as my chief translator and cultural liaison for the Global Technology Investment Summit?" As Elena shook his hand, she felt her life pivot on the axis of a single moment. Tomorrow, she would either help save a multi-billion-dollar company and potentially change millions of lives, or she would fail spectacularly in front of the most powerful people in the world. But tonight, for the first time in years, Elena Morales felt like she was exactly where she belonged. Chapter 3. The Moment of Truth. The grand ballroom of the Fontainebleau Miami Beach had been transformed into a technological showcase that rivaled any major international summit. Massive screens displayed real-time neural interface demonstrations, while elegant round tables seated delegations from 47 countries. The morning session would begin in 30 minutes, and Elena felt her heart pounding. As she stood beside Marcus in the preparation area behind the stage, she barely recognized herself in the mirror. Marcus had arranged for the hotel's personal shopping service to provide her with a professional wardrobe overnight, a sharp navy blazer, tailored pants, and the kind of confidence-inspiring outfit she had never been able to afford on a housekeeper's salary. More importantly, she carried a leather portfolio containing detailed briefings on every delegation, cultural protocols for each country, and technical translations Marcus had prepared through the night. "Elena, are you sure about this?" Marcus asked for the 10th time, adjusting his tie nervously. "It's not too late to call off the whole summit and reschedule." "Mr. Chen," Elena replied calmly, "yesterday you told me that thousands of paralyzed patients are waiting for this technology. Today, we are going to make sure they get it." Through the curtained entrance, Elena could see the ballroom filling with some of the most powerful people in the world. The Brazilian delegation, led by Dr. Ana Carvalho from the Ministry of Health, occupied the front table. The European Union Medical Board members were reviewing thick folders of documentation. Japanese technology ministers spoke quietly among themselves, while German automotive executives studied tablet displays of Neural Bridge's latest innovations. "Ladies and gentlemen," came the voice of the summit moderator over the sound system, "please welcome Marcus Chen, founder and CEO of Neural Bridge Technologies, presenting breakthrough advances in brain-computer interface applications." Marcus took a deep breath, then looked at Elena. "Ready to change the world." "Vamos," Elena replied with a smile, using the Spanish expression that meant, "let's go." As they walked onto the stage together, Elena felt the weight of hundreds of eyes upon her. She knew that many people in the audience were wondering who she was, why she was standing beside one of the world's most prominent tech entrepreneurs. In a few minutes, they would find out. "Good morning, distinguished delegates, ministers, and technology leaders," Marcus began, his voice carrying clearly through the ballroom's advanced sound system. "Before I begin today's presentation, I want to introduce Elena Morales, who will be serving as our linguistic and cultural liaison for this summit." Elena stepped forward, feeling more confident than she had any right to feel. "Buenos dias, bonjour, buongiorno, bom dia, guten morgen," she said, greeting the various delegations in their native languages. "It is an honor to facilitate communication between Mr. Chen's revolutionary technology and the diverse cultural perspectives represented in this room." The Brazilian delegation exchanged glances of approval at Elena's perfect São Paulo accent. The French medical board members nodded appreciatively at her Parisian pronunciation. Elena had spent the night not just memorizing technical terms, but studying the specific regional dialects and formal protocols each delegation would expect. Marcus launched into his presentation, explaining how Neural Bridge technology could allow paralyzed patients to control computer cursors, robotic prosthetics, and communication devices using only their thoughts. The demonstration videos were powerful. Stroke victims typing messages to their families, amputees controlling advanced prosthetic hands with precision, paralyzed patients navigating virtual reality environments through pure mental intention. But Elena knew that the real test would come when the questions began. Dr. Ana Carvalho from Brazil raised her hand first. She spoke in Portuguese, her words flowing rapidly with the passionate intensity typical of Brazilian medical professionals. "Dr. Carvalho asks about the long-term safety protocols for neural implants," Elena translated seamlessly. "Specifically, she wants to know how Neural Bridge technology addresses concerns about brain tissue rejection, infection risks, and the psychological impact of having permanent neural interfaces," Marcus answered in English, detailing the biocompatible materials, sterile implantation procedures, and psychological support protocols Neural Bridge had developed. Elena translated his response into Portuguese, but she did more than just convert words. She added cultural context that Dr. Carvalho would appreciate. "Mr. Chen emphasizes that patient safety is paramount and that Neural Bridge follows protocols even more stringent than those required by Anvisa. Additionally, the psychological support includes family counseling, recognizing that in Brazilian culture, medical decisions and recovery involve the entire family unit." Dr. Carvalho's expression brightened at this cultural acknowledgement, and she nodded approvingly. The German delegation posed technical questions about automotive applications, how neural interfaces could help disabled drivers control vehicles more effectively. Elena translated not just their questions, but the underlying German precision and engineering focus that valued exact specifications and safety redundancies. When the Japanese ministers inquired about manufacturing partnerships, Elena's translations included the subtle diplomatic language and respect protocols that Japanese business culture demanded. She addressed them with appropriate honorifics and structured her translations to show proper deference while maintaining Marcus's confident message. But the most challenging moment came when the French Medical Board raised concerns about cultural acceptance of brain-computer interfaces in European society. Dr. Marie Dubois spoke at length in rapid French, her concerns about public perception, ethical considerations, and social implications flowing with typical French intellectual complexity. Eleanor listened carefully, then turned to Marcus. Dr. Dubois raises important questions about social acceptance in European culture. She points out that Europeans tend to be more cautious about invasive medical technologies than Americans, and she's concerned about public perception of cyborg-like enhancements. She wants to know how Neural Bridge addresses these cultural sensitivities in their European marketing and implementation strategies. Marcus paused, realizing that this wasn't just a technical question. It was a cultural challenge that could determine whether European markets would accept his technology at all. Eleanor stepped forward slightly. Dr. Dubois, if I may add some context to Mr. Chen's response, she said in perfect French. Neural Bridge understands that European culture values individual autonomy and informed consent perhaps more than any other region. The technology isn't about creating enhanced humans. It's about restoring lost human capabilities with the dignity and choice that European medical ethics demand. She continued in French, explaining that Neural Bridge's approach emphasized patient control, reversible procedures where possible and extensive counseling to ensure that patients chose the technology for the right reasons. Dr. Dubois smiled for the first time during the presentation. Merci, Mademoiselle Morales. Your understanding of our cultural concerns is refreshing and reassuring. As the morning session continued, Eleanor found herself becoming more than just a translator. She was serving as a cultural bridge, helping Marcus's technical brilliance connect with the human concerns and social contexts that each delegation brought to the table. During a brief break, Marcus pulled Elena aside. "You're not just translating," he said with amazement. "You're making my technology culturally relevant to every single audience." "Language isn't just about words, Mr. Chen," Elena replied. "It's about understanding what people need to hear, how they need to hear it, and why their cultural background shapes those needs." As they prepared for the afternoon session with the Brazilian Investment Consortium, Eleanor realized that she was no longer nervous. She was in her element, using skills she had developed over a lifetime of navigating between cultures, helping people understand each other across linguistic and social barriers. The hotel housekeeper was gone. In her place stood Eleanor Morales, international business professional, cultural consultant, and the woman who might just help Marcus Chen change the world. The afternoon session would bring even greater challenges, but Elena felt ready for anything. After all, she had spent her entire life preparing for this moment, even if she hadn't known it at the time. Chapter 4. The High Stakes. The afternoon session brought new intensity to the grand ballroom as Elena and Marcus faced their most critical audience yet, the Brazilian Investment Consortium that could provide the $8 billion needed to bring Neural Bridge technology to Latin American markets. The consortium included not just medical investors, but representatives from Brazil's largest technology companies, government healthcare officials, and patient advocacy groups. Elena studied the delegation as they took their seats. She recognized the mix of business formal and medical professional attire, the way they arranged themselves with clear hierarchies, and the subtle body language that indicated this would be a much more challenging conversation than the morning's presentations. "Marcus," Eleanor whispered as they prepared to begin, "the Brazilian delegation isn't just here about money. They're evaluating whether your technology respects their cultural values and serves their people's actual needs." Marcus nodded, trusting Elena's cultural insights completely after the morning's success. "What should I emphasize? Family, community, and accessibility," Elena replied. "Brazilians will want to know that this technology brings people together rather than isolating them." Dr. Ana Carvalho stood to introduce the consortium's concerns. She spoke in Portuguese with the formal precision of someone representing both medical ethics and national interests. Elena translated. "Dr. Carvalho explains that Brazil has 45 million people living with some form of disability, many in communities where advanced medical technology has never been accessible. She wants to know how Neural Bridge technology can serve not just wealthy patients in São Paulo and Rio, but families in rural communities, indigenous populations, and the millions of Brazilians for whom current medical technology remains out of reach." The question hit at the heart of everything Marcus believed about his technology, but it also challenged him to think beyond the typical wealthy markets that most tech companies targeted first. Marcus began explaining Neural Bridge's plans for cost reduction, manufacturing partnerships, and accessibility programs, but Elena could see from the delegation's expressions that his answer was too technical, too focused on business solutions rather than human impact. Elena made a decision that would either enhance Marcus's credibility or destroy it completely. She stepped forward and addressed the consortium directly in Portuguese. With Dr. Carvalho's permission, I'd like to share something personal that might illustrate Mr. Chen's commitment to accessibility, Elena said. I grew up in Miami's Little Havana, where my neighbor was Senora Martinez, a stroke survivor who lost the ability to speak. For 3 years, I watched her granddaughter, Maria, try to communicate with her using homemade sign language, drawings, and pure love. The Brazilian delegation leaned forward, clearly engaged by this personal narrative. Mr. Chen's technology could have given Senora Martinez her voice back, Elena continued, but more importantly, it could have restored her connection to her granddaughter, her community, her sense of dignity and purpose. Neural Bridge isn't just about controlling computers. It's about restoring human connections that disability can interrupt. Elena turned to Marcus, switching to English. Mr. Chen, could you explain how Neural Bridge technology specifically addresses communication restoration for stroke patients? Marcus, understanding that Elena had created a perfect opening, launched into a detailed explanation of how neural interfaces could help stroke victims regain speech, control communication devices, and maintain independence in their daily lives. Elena translated his technical explanation, but she added emotional context that resonated with the Brazilian cultural emphasis on family relationships and community support. Dr. Eduardo Silva, a technology investor from São Paulo, raised his hand with a question that Elena could see was designed to test both Marcus's knowledge and Elena's cultural competence. Dr. Silva asks about economic sustainability, Elena translated, and he wants to know whether Neural Bridge technology will create dependency on expensive American systems, or whether it can be adapted to support local manufacturing, local technical expertise, and economic independence for Latin American countries. This was a sophisticated question that touched on Brazil's historical concerns about technological colonialism, the fear that advanced technologies would create economic dependence on foreign companies rather than building local capabilities. Marcus addressed the technical aspects of local manufacturing and technology transfer, but Elena realized he was missing the deeper cultural significance of the question. Dr. Silva, Elena said in Portuguese, Mr. Chen's vision aligns perfectly with Brazil's technological sovereignty goals. Neural Bridge isn't looking to create dependence. They're looking to create partnerships that build local expertise, support Brazilian engineers and medical professionals, and ensure that the benefits of this technology remain within Brazilian communities, she continued, explaining how Neural Bridge could work with Brazilian universities, medical schools, and technology institutes to develop local expertise and innovation capabilities. Dr. Silva's expression shifted from skepticism to genuine interest. Señorita Morales, you understand the concerns that many international technology partnerships have failed to address in the past. I understand because I've lived in immigrant communities my entire life, Elena replied. I've seen how technology can either empower communities or exploit them. Mr. Chen's approach recognizes that sustainable technology advancement requires local ownership and cultural respect. The afternoon continued with increasingly complex discussions about regulatory approval, clinical trials, patient advocacy, and long-term sustainability. Elena found herself not just translating, but actively participating in negotiations that would determine how revolutionary medical technology reached the patients who needed it most. During a brief recess, Dr. Carvalho approached Elena privately. Señorita Morales, she said in Portuguese, I must ask, are you Mr. Chen's business partner? Your understanding of both the technology and our cultural concerns is remarkable, Elena smiled. Dr. Carvalho, until yesterday, I was a housekeeper at this hotel, but I've spent my entire life translating between cultures, helping people understand each other across linguistic and social barriers. Today, I'm helping Mr. Chen understand that great technology must serve human needs, not just technical possibilities. Dr. Carvalho stared at Elena for a long moment. A housekeeper? Yesterday? Yes, ma'am. Mr. Chen's regular translator became ill, and I offered to help. And you have this level of technical knowledge and cultural competence from working as a housekeeper, Elena nodded. I have a degree in international business and experience translating for medical professionals. Sometimes the most important qualifications aren't listed on a resume. Dr. Carvalho smiled with genuine warmth. Señorita Morales, you are exactly the kind of person we need more of in international business. Someone who understands that technology must serve humanity, not the other way around. As the afternoon session concluded, the Brazilian consortium had not only expressed strong interest in partnering with Neural Bridge, but had specifically requested that Elena be involved in any future negotiations and implementation planning. Marcus was nearly speechless as they left the stage. "Elena, you didn't just translate for me today. You made me understand my own technology better. You showed me how to think about accessibility, cultural respect, and human impact in ways I had never considered." "Mr. Chen," Elena replied, "you created technology that can change millions of lives. I just helped you understand how to make sure it actually reaches the people who need it most." As they prepared for the evening's final presentation to a combined audience of all delegations, Elena realized that she had found her true calling, not just as a translator, but as a bridge between innovative technology and the human communities it could serve. The evening session would determine whether Marcus's technology gained global approval and funding. But more importantly, it would determine whether Elena's vision of accessible, culturally respectful technology implementation could become a reality. The stakes had never been higher, but Elena had never felt more confident in her purpose. She was no longer just helping Marcus save his company. She was helping ensure that revolutionary technology would serve justice, accessibility, and human dignity. And tomorrow, millions of disabled patients around the world might have new hope because of the conversations happening in this Miami ballroom. Chapter 5. The Transformation. The evening gala represented the culmination of everything Marcus and Elena had worked toward over the past 18 hours. The grand ballroom had been reconfigured into an elegant dinner setting where technology demonstrations would accompany the formal presentations that would determine Neural Bridge's global future. Elena stood beside Marcus at the head table, no longer feeling like an imposter among the world's most powerful technology leaders. Over the course of the day, she had earned the respect of international delegations through her linguistic expertise, cultural insight, and genuine understanding of how technology could serve human dignity. The final presentation would be simultaneously translated into 12 languages and broadcast to Neural Bridge investors, medical facilities, and patient advocacy groups around the world. The stakes couldn't be higher. "Ladies and gentlemen," announced the summit moderator, "tonight's concluding presentation will determine the global implementation timeline for Neural Bridge technology. We will hear final positions from all participating delegations, followed by Mr. Chen's comprehensive response to concerns raised throughout the summit." Dr. Hiroshi Yamamoto from the Japanese Technology Ministry spoke first. His formal presentation, covering manufacturing partnerships, quality control standards, and integration with Japan's advanced robotics industry. Elena translated his technical specifications while adding cultural context about Japanese precision engineering and long-term business relationship building. The German automotive representatives followed with detailed questions about neural interface applications for disabled drivers, autonomous vehicle integration, and safety protocols that met European regulatory standards. Elena's translations captured not just their technical requirements, but their cultural emphasis on safety, reliability, and systematic testing. But the most crucial moment came when Dr. Marie Dubois from the European Union Medical Board stood to deliver what everyone knew would be the decisive statement. "Mr. Chen," she said in French, her voice carrying the weight of 27 nations' medical decisions, "the European Union must consider not just the technical merits of your technology, but its social implications, ethical considerations, and cultural acceptance across diverse populations." Elena translated carefully, knowing that this moment would determine whether Neural Bridge technology would be approved for 450 million European patients. Dr. Dubois continued, "Throughout today's presentations, we have been impressed not just by your technology's capabilities, but by the cultural sensitivity and human-centered approach demonstrated by your team, particularly Ms. Morales." Elena felt her heart skip as she translated Dr. Dubois' words into English. "Ms. Morales has shown us that Neural Bridge understands something crucial that many technology companies miss. Innovation without cultural respect and accessibility is not progress, it is privileged exclusion." The ballroom fell silent as Dr. Dubois delivered her conclusion. "Based on the presentations and cultural competence demonstrated today, the European Union Medical Board recommends approval for Neural Bridge technology implementation across all member nations, with the condition that Ms. Morales be appointed as Director of International Cultural Integration to ensure that implementation respects the diverse needs of European communities." Elena's hands trembled as she translated Dr. Dubois' words, barely believing what she was hearing. Marcus grabbed her arm, his eyes wide with amazement. One by one, other delegations stood to announce their decisions. The Brazilian consortium committed to an $8 billion partnership, specifically requesting Elena's involvement in all Latin American implementations. The Japanese ministry approved manufacturing partnerships, emphasizing their confidence in the cultural wisdom Elena had demonstrated. The German automotive industry pledged integration partnerships, noting that Elena's understanding of accessibility had convinced them that neural bridge technology could truly serve disabled drivers with dignity. As the announcements concluded, Marcus stood to deliver his final response, but instead of immediately launching into technical details, he turned to Elena. "Just before I respond to these incredible offers," Marcus said, his voice carrying clearly through the ballroom, "I want to tell you all something about Elena Morales that will help you understand why today has been so successful." Elena felt panic rise in her chest. Surely Marcus wouldn't reveal that she had been a housekeeper just 24 hours ago. 18 hours ago, Marcus continued, "I was facing the biggest crisis of my career. My translator was hospitalized, and I was about to lose the opportunity to bring life-changing technology to millions of patients worldwide." The audience listened intently as Marcus described his desperate situation. "Elena wasn't my backup plan or my business partner. She was the housekeeper cleaning my hotel room when she overheard my crisis and offered to help." Murmurs of surprise rippled through the ballroom. But Elena brought something to this summit that no professional translator could have provided: genuine understanding of how technology must serve human dignity, cultural respect, and accessible implementation. Marcus's voice grew stronger with conviction. "Elena showed me that the greatest innovations aren't just technical achievements, they're bridges between human need and technological possibility." He turned to address Elena directly. "Elena, you didn't just save my company today. You taught me how to make sure our technology actually serves the people who need it most." The ballroom erupted in applause as Marcus continued, "Which is why I'm announcing tonight that Elena Moore." Elena felt tears streaming down her face as she realized that in 18 hours, she had gone from invisible housekeeper to senior executive at one of the world's most important technology companies. But more importantly, she had helped ensure that revolutionary medical technology would be implemented with the cultural sensitivity and accessibility that could truly change millions of lives. Dr. Ana Carvalho from Brazil stood and began applauding, followed by Dr. Dubois, then Dr. Yamamoto, until the entire ballroom was on its feet, giving Elena a standing ovation. As the evening concluded with signed agreements worth over $15 billion in international partnerships, Elena realized that her grandmother had been right about the universe putting people in the right place at the right time. 3 months later, Elena stood in the rehabilitation wing of Miami General Hospital, watching a stroke patient named Carlos use neural bridge technology to type his first message to his daughter in 2 years. "Te amo, mija. Papa está aquí." Dr. Rodriguez, Elena's former boss from her translation days, approached with a smile. "Elena, do you remember when you used to translate for my patients? You always said you wished technology could help them communicate with their families again." Elena nodded, watching Carlos's daughter cry with joy as she read her father's message. "Now it can," Dr. Rodriguez continued, "and because of your work with Neural Bridge, this technology is available to patients regardless of their economic status, their language, or their cultural background." As Elena watched Carlos type another message, "Vamos a estar bien," "we're going to be okay," she understood that sometimes the most important transformations happen not when we climb ladders, but when we build bridges. She had started as a housekeeper who spoke 6 languages. She had become a bridge between innovation and humanity, between technological possibility and cultural dignity. And in hotel rooms around the world, other housekeepers, security guards, and invisible workers were watching Elena's story and realizing that their voices, their insights, and their understanding of human needs might be exactly what the world's most important innovations were missing. The millionaire had indeed lost his translator at a global event. But in finding Elena Morales, he had discovered something far more valuable, a partner who could help technology serve not just efficiency and profit, but justice, dignity, and hope. Sometimes the person cleaning your room isn't just maintaining your space. They're quietly observing, understanding, and preparing to save your entire world when the moment is right. Elena's transformation from invisible housekeeper to global executive proved that genius, wisdom, and leadership come from the most unexpected places. And sometimes, the people society overlooks are exactly the ones who understand what society truly needs. The Global Technology Summit had concluded with unprecedented success. But more importantly, it had proven that when brilliant innovation meets cultural wisdom and human compassion, Technology can truly change the world for everyone, not just the privileged few. Elena Morales had saved more than Marcus Chen's reputation. She had helped save the future of accessible, dignified medical technology for millions of patients worldwide. And it all started with a housekeeper who refused to stay silent when she knew she could help. The end. Thank you for watching this incredible story. If Elena's journey inspired you, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell for more amazing tales of transformation and unexpected heroes. Drop a comment below telling us where you're watching from. We love connecting with our global family. And remember, sometimes the most extraordinary people are hiding in the most ordinary places, waiting for their moment to shine.